So now we're going to start getting into the nitty-gritty of CSS. And so in this section, the basics of CSS, we're going to go over things like the syntax, dealing with inline styling, using tag attributes, HTML tag attributes, separating styling from markup, HTML versus CSS, and the difference between the two, and separating styles out to another file, and then styling a couple HTML tags just to kind of get used to it. And then finally in this section, we're going to go over the power of CSS, which is cascading style sheets. That's the specificity, how to target certain HTML elements accurately. So in this video, this is just an intro to the CSS syntax. Well, what does syntax mean? Well, that's just the way the language looks. The certain things that we use to define what we want to do. So in this case, CSS syntax is fairly simple. We have the selector, the property, and the value. So let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to create what's called a selector, and I'm going to just hit P. And by the way, P stands for the P tag. So if you took the HTML course, you'd know that a P is a paragraph, HTML paragraph tag. It would look like this in the HTML source. So when we hit P here, and then let me close and open that with curly braces like that, the P stands for the selector. We're telling the CSS and the browser, hey, select this element. Select the paragraph tag. And whatever we put in here will style the P tag, the paragraph tag. So that's the selector. Next in the syntax is we have our little curly braces, and that tells the browser, hey, anything inside these curly braces defines this selector, this P tag. Okay, easy enough? So now there's two things we deal with when giving styles to a selector. One's called the property and the other's called the value. So to give an example, let's say we want to make all the P tags on our website red. Well, I would say color is red. You say, whoa, 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 what did you just do, Rick? All right, let me just go through it simply here. So we have color, which is the property. And we have red, which is the value. So this P tag has a property of color and a value of red. And as with all CSS properties, we always set it by using a colon, and we always end it by using a semicolon. So if I had multiple styles here, and I said, okay, the color's that, and the font size is 10 pixels, I always need to use the semicolon to let the browser know, hey, this is the end of this property. Something else on the next line is another property with its own set of values. So I hope that makes sense. Sometimes you'll see, well, let me style an H1 tag here. Sometimes you'll see a CSS style and someone did not put the semicolon in there. Well, if it's the last property in a group, so let's say we had font size is 10 pixels and margin bottom is 20 pixels. If we had a group like this, it's okay not to put the semicolon at the very end. I always do, but a lot of times you'll see people, they don't do that, and so don't be afraid and say, oh, that guy's a stinky coder, he didn't do that. It's actually okay to do that. But if you do it here, up here, then it's going to break and it's not going to work right. So only the last property can miss a semicolon or not. And that's it for the syntax of CSS. Easy, right? It's not really a programming language. You don't have to know all sorts of crazy logic. That is the basic CSS syntax. And we'll get into some more things later, like class values. You can add a class to this, and then pseudo selectors, hover, and things like that. We'll go into that later. But basically, that is CSS syntax.